Minister Bussemaker answered questions from international scientists at the University of Leiden. This happened at the opening of the Conference of Political Legitimacy and the Paradox of Regulation. She explained why the creating of new laws by politicians has just become a way to be seen by the media.
Now my question is, how is it possible that in the Netherlands, like in any other European jurisdiction, over the last 25 years we had an increase of 20% of the total amount of regulation? And that is taken into account 3 major deregulations operations we had.
A lot of regulations in the field of education, also in the field of university policies, but also elsewhere. And it's not always regulation by the government. A lot of regulations are being made by the board of the university, maybe by the head of the department, maybe by the city council. Everything we are doing is public. And you have to show immediately being a member of parliament. I've been a member of parliament for a couple of years as well. So if you say, a journalist, oh, this is really very important, I think we have to start a discussion. You will never be on the news hour. If you say, I will ask the minister to take strong measures and to make new laws, yeah, maybe you will have a chance. So, you know, it's the interplay between government and parliament and the interplay between politics and the media.
Everywhere the complaint can be heard that there is a gap between politics and the people. So what gives the administration you are in the right to govern besides the election results?
Because you have to govern being in the government, because otherwise you would create anarchy. But you have to do it wisely, and that means that you have to debate it with the parliament, but also that you have to find support in society. And I always say I do not wait till the last citizen agrees with my proposals, but I will do my best to create some support in society for laws and measures that you take.
You want to make the gap as small as possible.
Yeah, I think there, a small gap is not a real problem. If there is a small gap between politicians and people with important positions on the one hand, and citizens on the other hand, is not very bad in itself. If there's a gap with respect, it's not a problem. If it's a gap because people have the idea that politicians, are not elected anymore, or are only looking in their own, are thinking only about their own aims and not about the aims of the citizens, then we will have a problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back to Saturday, the 1st of December 2012. I've been Minister of Education for just 3 weeks. And I'm reading an advance copy of a report about financial mismanagement at Amarantis, a large education group which manages several schools. The organization was on the point of bankruptcy in 2010. And it was saved only by a financial injection of public funds and the efforts of a strong interim manager. According to this report, the people in charge had seriously neglected their public task. I shall offer a balanced and well-considered response. Various recommendations for reform have been made, and I intend to adopt them. I also intend to call on public sector managers to re-examine their moral attitudes, as I called it, their moral compass, as there's clearly a problem of culture as well. I'm still having breakfast when the first news reports start coming in on my BlackBerry. The report has been leaked. The directors of Amarantis, some of whom have already resigned, are being accused of financial mismanagement and fraud. How can this have been allowed to happen? ask the media. The minister should take firm action, they say. And then I decide to make a statement on television that evening. If the allegations are true, I announce the people concerned can expect to face problems with me. I was perhaps speaking out on turn at this stage because the report was not officially published yet. But nobody would have understood if I had said nothing at all. When the managers of a public institution fail in their task, all eyes immediately turn to the minister. The media demand that the minister takes action. But is this arrangement actually effective? Can the problem only be solved if the minister weighs in with all guns blazing? It's certainly a dilemma. On the one hand, you are responsible for the system as a minister, especially when things go amiss. Firm action is then required. On the other, your legitimacy is restricted. On the whole, schools know rather more than I do about what is good for them. We must now admit that this approach has done little to revive the social legitimacy of the public institutions. Moreover, the lack of social legitimacy places the political legitimacy of the government itself under strain. The government must therefore seek an effective system of management in order to restore the public confidence in the public institutions and in the government itself. Our government has recently introduced legislation which limits the salaries of senior managers in the public sectors. This is agenda-setting legislation in that it forces a change to existing practice. The government is responding to the dissatisfaction expressed by many members of the public because the public service managers themselves are not doing so. While we may have lost some legitimacy in the eyes of the managers, we have gained legitimacy in the eyes of the people. The Amarantis case has prompted calls for big organizations which run large numbers of schools to be split up. But if we start to prepare the necessary legislation today, we may be in a position to implement it in around 4 years' time. Meanwhile, the field has already taken the initiative. Some schools in Rotterdam nowadays have already decided to go their separate ways. So they really took the initiative themselves. That's why I will mention another important means of achieving effective government: management by speech. And this is often be seen as a soft instrument. It's my experience that it can be very strong. I've noticed more than once that drawing public attention to unacceptable situations can do far more to bring about change than formal legislation. And in many cases, reform relies not on the strict letter of the law, but on its interpretation and use. It's a question of culture rather than structure. This is why I opted for a combined response to the Amarantis issue. That response involves tightening the existing regulations so that the government is able to take appropriate action in cases of financial mismanagement. It involves creating the necessary conditions for a culture of accountability. But finally, it involves also management by speech, whereby we shall encourage debate about the role and responsibilities of public service managers. We shall help them to set their moral responsibility or moral compass. So it's a question both of structure and culture. These are the lines along which I hope to increase the legitimacy of government policy in the broadest sense of the term in the years ahead. This can be mutually beneficial to the worlds of everyday life and science. So I warmly invite you to join my quest for a solution. Thank you for your attention.
think you were sort of furious about Amarantis. What happened there? Was that so?
Yes, I was quite furious because I think it's very important that if you are on the board of a public institution, that you are aware of being a very important public servant. You also have to give an example to your employees. And if there are people working and they think more about their own salary than about the quality of the education and the lessons in their classes, then we have a problem with the whole public sector.
You're a very positive minister. Do you think that it will work, discussion? Make people aware about their responsibilities?
I discovered that it works because I started it, and now we have all over discussions in the school system where this happens, that people are talking with each other. I don't say that having the debate and having the social dialogue is enough. Sometimes you also need rules, but you also have to be aware that rules alone cannot solve the problem. It makes also people lazy. Then they think, oh, there will be a law and another law and another regulation. They will do it in The Hague.
Will there be another Amarantis soon?
No, not as far as I know. And I really hope it will not happen anymore.